remember I was driving to the basket when I got hit and fell. I remember Mike, our trainer, asking questions, but I was very confused and my head was pounding. I went to his office and had to go through 2 different tests so that I could be diagnosed. I had a lot of trouble answering the questions. A lot of them had to do with my memory and what was bothering me. The first evaluation was a standardized assessment of concussion. I had a symptom evaluation and a cognitive and physical evaluation.
All right, so we're gonna go right through a SAC 3 form right now. I'm gonna ask you a couple of questions, okay?
Some of my symptoms included a headache, pressure in my head, dizziness, sensitivity to light, and confusion. While Mike was asking me questions, I couldn't help but think of how long it would be until I could play again. I knew that it wouldn't be easy, and a lot of people struggle to fully recover from concussions. I wanted to be back on the court as soon as possible, but I also wanted to fully recover in order to do well in my classes.
When a student here in the high school has a concussion, there is a protocol for athletics, and there's also a protocol for a student as far as their academic performance expectations. In the athletic world, they have different steps they have to go to return to play. They have to be symptom-free. They have to have a doctor's note clearing them with a parent's signature also, and then they go through a step-by-step return to play activity. So there's a lot of things when you are concussed that you need to deal with, and it takes time. Time is the only healing factor in staying out of heavy light, especially off from computers, screens, and phone screens, and getting a lot of rest.
I thought that I was doing everything I needed to in order to get better. I didn't want to get behind in my schoolwork, but I was still having trouble focusing in class. Thankfully, I knew I wasn't alone. There had been over 40 reports of concussions this year. I remember my wellness teacher, Mr. White, getting one in the beginning of the year.
Earlier this year, I was diagnosed with a concussion, and the question I was asked is how it has affected me as a teacher. And I would have to say that having a concussion while you're working can be a little tricky. So I can remember sometimes spacing out, forgetting what I'm talking about, or just having a headache in general.
I got a concussion about a year ago in basketball. I hit my head off a floor, and the first few days were the worst. I felt really nauseous. I threw up a lot, and I had a constant headache. And I tried to do schoolwork, which you're not supposed to do, but I made an effort to. And I had trouble reading. The words would get kind of mixed together. I had trouble speaking. I had some symptoms for about a month after the concussion. I had trouble focusing, and I got headaches occasionally. If I had to write long writing pieces in English or anything, I would have trouble. I'd get a headache and I'd have to shut my eyes.
Concussion is a frequent diagnosis that I see often in the health office with students at Sanborn. And we just wanted everyone to be aware that concussions can happen in so many different avenues. And a lot of times kids think about concussions at school just being related to sports injuries. And that's proven not to be the case. We've got quite a bit of data because we have a concussion management protocol and team here at Sanborn to help students navigate their return to their healthy self after they've had a concussion.
My doctor and our trainer, Mike, told me all I can do was rest. This meant physical rest, but also mental rest too. I had to limit my screen time on my phone, watching TV, and even listening to music. After my concussion, I even had to take a few days off of school so I could really let my body rest and recover. My teachers were great and very understanding, but with my rest, I was feeling a lot better. I knew it was a huge factor when getting a concussion.
We've been keeping statistics this year just because we've had some teachers in the school who've received a little extra training about concussions, and we were concerned because we were wondering how many of the concussions that our students were facing were underreported. In other words, they suffered a concussion somehow, but we weren't made aware of it. Or how many of the students had suffered concussions but were really having a difficult time succeeding at school, whether it was in the classroom or they were taking a long time to get back into their chosen sport. We've learned a lot about concussions over the last 5 to 10 years, and the more we learn, the more that we realize we should be really cautious with the way that students return both to the classroom and to the playing field, because if they overexert themselves, either by studying, which is mental exertion, or working on the computer, mental exertion, or too much physical exertion, it can actually slow down the process of healing, which means that they're susceptible to that really significant damage for a longer period of time. So we decided we really need to be careful. So we started keeping statistics on how many students, and actually we keep statistics on staff as well, how many students or staff have suffered a concussion, and we're trying to monitor students return to learn and students return to play, and also teachers return to work, because at work there's both physical and mental exertion as well. And you know, we've had a significant number of concussions this year, far more than I think anybody realized.
While recovering back from my concussion, my teammates and coaches were very supportive. They made so I could get back in the game as quick as possible. It was tough emotionally watching my teammates play when I wasn't able to, but I felt very confident when I got back on the court from the process my school made me go through. I never understood how serious concussions were until I had one, but I'm glad that I took the time to recover so I could be successful in the classroom and on the court.